www.orlando.score.org and find out more about us. We are a unique organization within the nonprofit community in the services that we provide. But like most nonprofits, we use a lot of volunteers, mentors like myself. Mr. Friends, who will be our moderator today, who I'll introduce in a moment. All of us have between 25 and 30 years of professional experience, usually in an area of expertise. For example, Mr. Friends is an attorney. Ms. Perry in the back is former national marketing director for Chuck E. Cheese. Mine's nonprofit. So we have very diverse backgrounds among us. A lot of experience that we're more than glad to share with the clients of SCORE. We are corporate types, entrepreneur types, so we bring both perspectives to business operations. By the way, if there happens to be an area that you're functioning in that is beyond the scope of the expertise that we have locally, you can, via email, find a SCORE counselor that may have that expertise. You want to open up a veterinary shop? We might have one out in Oklahoma. None of our people are veterinarians, but I know them. We are here to help people. We provide free one-on-one counseling, which, by the way, is always confidential as part of our code of ethics. We do not share this information outside the organization, nor do we participate in your businesses, be it investment, ownership, being on board. That is all. We cannot do that. We are here only to help, guide, advise, and mentor. But we all have the background to try to help you. We not only do we do the individual mentoring, we also have our seminars, not just panels like Lunch with a Leader, but we have an ongoing series of seminars that are about the foundation of business operations, how to write a business plan, how to write a financial plan, how to do a marketing plan. Also, we talk, seminars on social media, taxes, whatever happens to be an immediate need at that time. We try to address those particular topical informational matters in our various seminars. Also, we have a great deal of resource materials. Again, you can go to the SCORE website or the National SCORE website, and we have all kinds of information there, templates, information packets, structures, almost everything you need in fundamentally starting a business. But I'd like to also remind you that with some of the seminars that we do have some coming up, the next Lunch with a Leader panel is going to be on June 20th, and it's the personal psychology of running a business. If you don't know how much fun it is to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and on a Thursday night and wonder how you're going to make payroll, then you really haven't enjoyed being in business. Or you have a really major event, something that's really important to do. Wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, that flop sweat. There's no class that teaches you that you all go through that. We're going to be discussing that in June. But before that, and that's on June 20th. But before that, we have our Digital Media Marketing Day on June 8th. That's an all-day event, right? It's going to address social media with speakers and seminars, an opportunity to talk with counselors. And then we also have Business Fest on May 7th, which is our premier event here at SCORE, where we will have a business discussions, a lot of counselors available to meet with various clients, networking opportunities, which are essential. Most people, you have to realize that your businesses do not function in a vacuum, and the more connections you can make, the more opportunity you have. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our moderator today, and he will, in turn and introduce our panel. Our moderator today is also a volunteer here at SCORE, Nate Friend. Nate is an attorney. He was with legal counsel to AT&T here at the end of his career here in the Orlando market. You have what, 732 years with AT&T? I'm 33. I'm sorry, I'm off. I think Nate was actually rolling the first copper wires as a child and stringing them along. But I will leave some of the self-introduction to Nate and let him introduce the panel. Welcome, Nate. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Coach. First of all, I applaud all of you for being here and not being glued to your television set right now, watching the report from Rolla. I say that, because one of the things that part of my background is I was one of the lawyers way back when Watergate. Believe it or not. Now, I was very young. And I mean that. I was 24 years old and a line lawyer with the Justice Department. So I watched this stuff very intently. In fact, the Black Friday, they call it, I'm sitting there waiting for an award from the Justice Department. And they're trying to figure out who's going to sign it. End up being Bork. That's one of my mementos, by the way. I'll always keep. Anyway, my background is corporate. I spent 30 years with AT&T Corporation. I was a general counsel. I was also a specialist. My specialty was antitrust. And for those of you who are starting businesses, I hope to see you in that arena one day. It can happen. It can happen. The same thing happened to Steve Jobs. He went at one time just like you guys. We have a distinguished panel here, and first of all, we have Doug Ware. They're going to introduce themselves and tell a little about their background. But I want you to just know that we have Doug Ware, who has been in business for years, has run a business, been a part of a major corporation, and he's going to give you a perspective of what the underpinnings are like if you don't have them and if you do have them. Because the whole basis of this seminar is to make sure that you have a proper foundation for your business. You all have concepts, ideas, or maybe you're going to acquire a business. There are certain things you have to do or you're going to pay later. It's the old pay me now, pay me later. Okay? We want to help you not have to pay later. Next, Torre. He's a journalist. He practices immigration law as well as general business law. Look at Juan as you would your primary physician. Somebody you come into and he can analyze what your problem is and perhaps help you if it's a minor problem, or refer you to a specialist. That's the person you come in and you say, I've got a headache, and he said, no, you have a heart problem. Call that specialist. But one of the specialists that would be called would be Kimra. She's in entertainment and personal injury, not personal injury. Intellectual property. Big difference. Right. Just a little bit. Personal injury comes in sometimes, and then she will refer that person to Juan. But intellectual property, which is a large part of any business. If you don't have that squared away, you can have problems down the road. We're going to talk about starting your business. What do you do when you have a specialized problem? And then some of the ramifications if you don't do these things. And they are major. Now, you're going to hear some legal advice, but it's really not legal advice. It's significant. Because we don't give legal advice here. These two are related to the bar in Florida, but they're not here as lawyers in terms of being a personal lawyer. So there's no attorney-client relationship here. I'm just going to give you some general advice to the extent you need specific advice. And you may feel that way after you hear some of the things that you need for your underpinnings. Then, of course, you can contact one of them or others in the city. Okay, with that, let's start with Kim. Let's start with Give me your background experience.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I have to thank, I still call them dean friends because when I was at family law, this was one of my deans, and so he will forever be dean friends to me. So I appreciate the invitation and appreciate you all coming out. My practice area is intellectual property. By show of hands, how many of you have any idea what that's all about? Yay. Okay, so there are 4 areas of intellectual property, and I'll get into those later, but my primary areas are trademark, copyright, and trade secrets. So my background is I started off as a hip hop artist in the late 80s. Yes, I did. I was Bo Peep with Rhymes to the Lost Sheep.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Oh,
I'm just learning that now.
That's okay. I'm not doing any free rhymes, okay? I went on from there to work for Bobby Brown, Whitney's husband, Bobby Brown. I worked for a lot of management companies, did things in business after I, quote unquote, retired as a hip hop artist. And then I segued into video production. Started working for, as I had my own company while I was also a video editor at HBO, all creative stuff. So I was doing the red carpet photography and video for BET, and still interacted with some of the same celebrities that I met when I was performing. As a 37-year-old, all that bouncing around with clients, and happy to be here.
Right.
Doug?
Good afternoon.
John? The cameras.
Oh, there it is. I'm now. I've been a SCORE volunteer for 15 years. I learned a heck of a lot being a SCORE volunteer. But before that, in my prior life, I was what they call a dinosaur. I worked for the same company, corporation, for 40 years. I was Westinghouse Electric Corporation. I was graduated as a mechanical engineer. I went to work for Westinghouse in the early 60s, both in their defense group and then later on in their power generation group. Most of my stuff was in power generation. I built power plants in the 60s. In 1993, I went and did international stuff for us. And I ran our international subsidiary operations. And I got experience there in partnerships, in joint ventures, for the last part of my career. And then the last 5 years were probably the most interesting. We bought the Westinghouse power generation business. So we had a mix of that with Siemens, and that was interesting, working with a different culture. Then I retired, and after 2 years of doing honeydews and stuff, I said, what am I going to do to keep busy? And I joined SCORE. So my basic, I'm an operations guy. When people come to me, if we want to talk to marketing, I can send the lows. If we want to talk financial, I speak to some other people. But if you have an operation, especially if you have a lot of ways of things like first right refusal, several and joint, the different wording in your contract. So a lot of that's up front, very important. And you should have a lawyer involved in that. That's it.
Juan, tell us about some of the foundations that are needed in terms of the type of association.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I was waiting for some those of you in the audience at some point in your business if you're looking for investment on how to expand your business. So I mainly deal with investors that are investing into startups or into businesses that are struggling in the United States. And as a spin-off of that, as I was saying, I do a lot with setting up their businesses. And in that same context, I am the general counsel for a There are 3 or 4 general entities that are commonly used, including the corporate incorporation, LLC, your LP, which is your limited partnership, and then your LLP, which is your limited, your limited liability limited partnership, is kind of a good way to think of it. Generally. And it will also govern how things need to be operated during the business itself. And I'm sure we'll get into a variety of issues with that, but that would be my general introduction to those business issues. Contracts, which your prenup and your operating agreement, bylaws, or partnership is obviously a contract. but your contracts with the other businesses that you're dealing with or with your clients are imperative in order to cover your rear end. And
some of the questions, where you are, where do you stand right now in your business? You just getting started, or you're acquiring a business, you have a concept or an idea. Let us know, and then we'll start addressing it from there. We'll move from there.
By show of hands, how many are already business owners? Is it everyone?
okay.
Okay.
I have another question. By show of hands, how many of you have ever registered your intellectual property, not on SunBiz?
They don't know whether they want to be a sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, whatever. Should they run to you guys first and say, set me up, or would you see it more as a function of accounting? They should run to their financial person and say, this is the most advantageous financial way to go with your structure.
I would answer the question as both. And we were having this conversation prior to the motion starting. When they failed to set up that partnership agreement, like expenditures. Okay, I had a business that was set up, and I posed my client, and I learned from my own lessons, right? I said, listen, I got a 50-page version of this agreement, and I got a 10-page version of this agreement. He says, what's the difference? I said, well, clearly the 50-page agreement covers a lot more clauses and protects both parties involved from potential problems. And so we came up on a clause in Venezuela. Actually, in this case, I think it was Ecuador. He's in Ecuador most of the time. He hires a 26-year-old to run his business. Well, that's the first red flag. No offense against any 20-year-olds who want to do startups. That I applaud any 20-year-old that wants to do a startup and can successfully do it. We know that major parts of Silicon Valley were founded that way. But the point is, this particular 20-year-old got access to large amounts. You know that if you take that loan just under the LLC and default on that loan, then you close shop like most people do and open another business, and that loan is gone. Which is a whole other issue in terms of lawsuits about something called piercing the corporate veil and all of that. But the point is that you want to avoid the perception that you think you're doing something.
My question is based, the type of business I have is a voiceover for the entertainment side of things. And so I just started this year officially, but I haven't registered yet. And I have a budget and I've laid out my timeline for when I want to have things done. My question is about, is there, I don't know if it's a legal thing or just just in your opinion, but is there a time where you
do I need to get organized? Do I need an office? Do I need all these things? Can I even get clients? And I know that when I first started my law practice, I was almost 30 years old, and I used to work for an organization known as National Council of La Raza, NCLR, doing Hispanic advocacy and basically outreach for minority groups. And I didn't think I was going to get laid off. I was like, I got a bachelor's, I got a master's. Attorney fee or paying a CPA to do it, it's not that expensive. I generally charge people about a half hour of my time, so at approximately $150, $175. And considering that I know how easy it is to do, I usually charge people $150 plus the filing fee, and we're done. That's it. We open up your corporation, you got your employment identification number, and now you can run down to the bank and open an account. And to address your accounting questions, your books are going to be kind of now it's easier for your accountant to take care of your books, and it gets done quicker. And I think there might have been a component there in terms of IP that Kimber might want to address, because you might want to get some of your trademarks, as she pointed out with the patent, but I'm going to let Kimber address.
Before you go there, you don't want to get out in front of your headlines. You have a name in mind, right?
Make this company, we sell pills, then what are they gonna do when CVS pops up? So the first suggestion I have is, when you are naming your business for stronger brand protection, have something that's arbitrary. Try not to describe what it is you're doing in your business name, because then it's hard to protect. So that's the best piece of advice I can give you for step one. Come up with a name, have a comprehensive trademark rights. So it's really a little more complicated, probably a lot more than people give it credit for. Some people will have you think that getting a trademark is just a matter of filling out a simple form. It's by the time you realize that you should have asked a professional, you're 6 months into the application process and probably invested in business cards and a website and all sorts of things, marketing, only to get a cease and desist notice from the person who really owns the name. So step one, a comprehensive.
Also, you look under there and see if that name's been taken.
Okay, so
Okay,
that's
registering your name for your business, right?
that's what most people think.
Right,
And
that's what I thought, so
it's
you're
wrong.
saying it's wrong.
No, there's a big disclaimer, and it's not common sense, so no one should feel like, oh wow, okay, why did I know that? There's a disclaimer, if you go to Sunbiz, it says that they are not responsible for your infringement upon other parties.
Okay.
So Adidas, we all know the sneaker brand, how's it spelled? Adidas, right? So if I go to Sunbiz and register Adidas with ADEE, DI, whatever, the rest of the spelling, but I use different vowels. Sunbiz might actually let it go through. But our examining attorney that will say there's a likelihood of confusion.
So
So
I've been giving bad advice for 15 years.
it's almost right, that's what we're gonna say.
Let me just add one thing, because this is very, very recent. Okay, got my attention. Very recently in, I think it was Ireland, McDonald's was sued. No, sorry. Just the opposite, Ireland, just the opposite. It was Colossal Burger, Colossal Mac, instead of Big Mac. Okay, McDonald's.
11-3, okay. So for the person that's been in business for 7 years, it's still not too late for you to receive a cease and desist notice, because if you don't have a federal trademark and you hire me to file one for you, now the public is on notice. There's something called the Gazette that comes out where everybody's informed. So right now you're kind of low key if your business is a Florida business, and those people who haven't done a comprehensive search don't know about your business. They're gonna take you to court. So your argument is gonna be, I've been using it for 7 years, what kind of due diligence have you been doing that I just popped up on your radar, right? So that is an argument, but in trademark law, the first to do it has a superior right. So if I've been, there may be some explanation, but I can demand a portion of your profits, because if I can prove that my customers were confused and accidentally went to your website. It's really important for nonprofits. I represented the Trayvon Martin Foundation and the family from its inception. And so when that tragedy happened, they set up a foundation. I lost count of the copycat foundations that were set up, supposedly collect down a copycat page without a federal trademark.
That made me think of something. Anybody in the room setting up a nonprofit? Nobody? Well, so I don't have to speak very long on it, but I have had instances where that type of that she's discussing is not only an infringement in a civil matter, but it's potentially a criminal matter, because now they're defrauding the public by collecting funds for something that doesn't exist. That's just why you gotta be on the lookout for scams when you see things like GoFundMe and different types of charitable organizations that potentially don't exist. Obviously, you don't want to give money to a charity that's not actually doing what they say they were doing. On the other hand, I've actually represented an individual is pay yourself a salary and do not ever attempt to pay anything personal out of the business, because that's how you can quickly find yourself with criminal charges for, say, grand theft or something else.
That whatever tragedy occurs, the next high school that has a shooting, within an hour, there's going to be illegal entities existing that are going to try to gather funds. You have to be very careful with this. it is a major ripoff here. I know it's not relevant to this conversation.
No, it is, because I was just gonna say, Nipsey Hussle this tragedy. I've already seen people.
To, or to act.
I'm glad you asked. Okay, so you're all intellectual property owners. Those of you who have businesses, you all have what's called common law trademark rights because you're already using your thing, your name in commerce. That's a legal term in commerce. It just means that you're availing your goods and services to the public. Florida, I have a very active intellectual property committee with the Florida Bar, has common law trademark person sign off on language that says that this is proprietary information. Because what if that person goes with non-compete clauses, goes to work for a similar company and has all of your contacts there that can be used in another setting. Those people who designed your logo, did you know that you don't own it? You may have paid for it, just like the wedding photographer. They go and you hire them to shoot your wedding, but they actually own the photos. You own the copy.
Is that what's commonly called is that white labeling, or what's the term for that?
Not familiar with white labeling. But the copyright, I was just talking about the work for hire. The work for hire means that you have paid someone to perform a duty for you, and they have relinquished.
You try to call them and talk to them. You know, the last thing you want to do is get in a lawsuit or anything. I think you always try to negotiate something out of it, okay? Like I would say, negotiate. If you can't negotiate, you do mediation or arbitration. You create a lawsuit, and that contents, okay?
Screw you, I'm doing fine, I don't need your.
Well, that's when we step in, but I do agree with Doug wholeheartedly, whether it's in a family law context or in a civil dispute. What is often forgotten is that you, not the attorney, those of you that are the business owners, have the ability to pick up the phone and contact the other party and negotiate directly. If I involves a lot of money and a business and real estate and all that, and he says, well, so many kids are going to get put through college here. It's either going to be your kids or the attorney's kids.
As much as I would love to see that happen, as with intellectual property, there's a lot of ignorance in this area of the law, and so if I pick up the phone and say to the person who's using a variation of my name, they're going to say it's not even the same. I spell mine differently. My logo looks differently. Not understanding trademark law.
But you know quickly.
Right. So that's the problem with picking up the phone.
Okay. One thing about it is, there is no intellectual property police. You can't call someone.
Upload videos to brag about her and me, the copyright cop, will get a notice from Facebook that says the video you've uploaded contains content, the music that she's dancing to belongs to someone else. We've muted it partially. So I have to laugh because I do that.
Or the background. There's a number of things that you can infringe. The background where she's dancing.
Right.
That could be there. This is a tough area. I just want to tell you one thing that actually I was involved in with AT&T, and that is when I was heading up AT&T International 23 years ago, filed, registered trademark and all. There was a person in Hoboken, New Jersey, who had common law rights. Almost impossible, even with the internet, because some people don't do any advertising.
Isn't there a time when some, for instance, Otis escalated, okay, Westinghouse made that, but we had to call them moving stairways.
Right.
The same as Westinghouse had what they call laundromat. That was a trademark of Westinghouse. Now laundromat is common language, it can be anybody, right? After 17 years or something, right?
Right, so it goes back to you being responsible for policing your mark. I want to point out Monique here. Monique and I taught a course, a general course at Full Sail, and this is one of the things that was in our, or is in the lecture. But yeah, if you hear people misusing, what's another?
Who aren't putting out music anymore, or it appears that they're not putting out any more music. So if I find their Instagram, not their Instagram, I'll find their Facebook, and there's been nothing since 2011. SoundCloud, nothing since 2009, or maybe about the same time. So at that point, if somebody's trying to use the same name, like you've done your due diligence,
Correct.
And there's nothing to show that this person is even still active as an artist.
federal court, where I'm the general practitioner, and I handle matters on a day-to-day basis for the corporation I work for. This intellectual property matter stepped in. I called Kimra, she writes demand letters after they had already had conversations by phone, quickly dismissed the fact that the other corporation was not going to cooperate. We issued letters not only to the corporation with using Kimra's amazing, making sure that you talk to Kimra and have the answers to whether I'm doing the right thing or not is extremely important, because even if you're in the middle of getting caught up in a litigation, it can really affect your bottom line if your product is being taken off the shelves because other vendors do not.
Let me just add one thing real quick, and that is, when we say intellectual property, keep in mind it's property, like any employees.
That's huge.
All of you who are starting businesses or have businesses, either you have employees or you're looking forward to hiring people. There again, agreements. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think number one is, if you're a hired employee, you should define the job, have a job description, and you should have an application they fill out before you interview them. And that application should ask their education, the things you can ask. So you should have that, and that's how you start your interview. It's a document. I call it the employment application. You can get one at Office Depot, okay? And second, I think you have to be aware of, again, eventually you're gonna separate with that employee somewhere. Now, hopefully it's good in retirement, but it could be bad. You wanna be sure you're not charged with any kind of discrimination, so you wanna document stuff. I think you gotta be aware of laws. It doesn't really apply to smaller businesses, but I think interstate commerce applies to every business. An employee, it's called the Fair Labor Standards Act. Okay, that means you have to pay them the minimum wage. You have to pay them time and a half for overtime. There's that's not an employee. The government doesn't like independent contractors because if you have an employee, you have to withhold taxes. An independent contractor, it's all about control. It's if the work they do, if you're not controlling when they come in, the time, you're not, you're basically hiring them as a company, independent contractor. You just got to be careful.